Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nārayaṇam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम by his divine grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 11, Svāyambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Mahārāja. We are in the section, text 15 to 26, where Manu Mahārāja is explaining understanding the ultimate cause as the Supreme Lord. So we are the 17th shloka midway. We'll just continue with the purport. Yeah, please continue.
In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the Lord impregnates energy with the part and parcel different forms and different activities immediately ensue. Because of the different desires and karmic activities of the Jiva soul, different types of bodies in different species are produced. In Darwin's theory, there is no acceptance of the living entity as spirit soul, and therefore his explanation of evolution is incomplete. Varieties of phenomena occur within this universe on account of the actions and reactions of the three material modes. But the original creator or the cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is mentioned here as Nimitta Matram, that is, the remote cause. He simply pushes the wheel with his energy. According to the Mayavadi philosophers, the Supreme Brahman has transformed himself into many varieties of forms, but that is not the fact. He is always transcendental to the actions and reactions of the material gunas, although he is the cause of all causes. Lord Brahma says, therefore, in the Brahma Samhita 5.1, Ishwaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadira Adira Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many causes and effects, but the original cause is Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So, a few things from the previous paragraph. There, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna says that everything depends on his energy, yet he is not everywhere. So, this is the, this is how all the contradictions resolve within the personality of Godhead. We have in details in the example of pot. And the Lord doesn't have to, sometimes when we give an example, there is always a chance that we may extend the example. Example is given just to make a point, and the example should not be stretched beyond that point. Here one may see, the potter working very hard to make the pot, but the Lord doesn't have to do that. He, simply thinks about it, about the action, svabhaviki jnana balakriyacha, and entire energy set is set into motion simply by the thought process of the Supreme Lord. Like, the living entity is transferred to the material world, sa aikshataha. He simply glances over maya dakshena prakriti, adhyakshena. So this is the potency of the Supreme Lord. Now Srila Prabhupada explains nimitta matram. What is the nimitta matra? So Lord impregnates the material energy with the parts and parcels jiva. Tasam brahma mahadiyonir aham bija pradapita. And which yoni, which jiva will get? So that is based on the interactions of three modes of material nature. Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha, madhye tishtanti rajasa, jaganya guna vrittistha, adho gacchanti tamasa. And this is how systematically, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, the whole thing is working out. Right? Karmana daivanetrena. Now, Darwin also tried to explain the theory of evolution, the theory of life, right? But the major flaw in Darwin's theory is that Darwin doesn't accept the spirit soul. He thinks body is only changing. It is like, saying that this universe is like a school and the living entities are like the students in the school. And he says, yeah, students are not required. What happens basically? The benches only, they go from first standard to second standard to third standard, and benches only pass out. So, no, sir, benches remain wherever they are. Students are moving from the first standard benches to the second standard class to the third standard class. It is not the classrooms are evolving or the benches are evolving, it is the students who are sitting on the benches, sitting in that classroom, they are evolving. This is the major difference, right? So Darwin thinks that Darwin's evolution is all about the body only is evolving. No, body remains wherever it is, right? It is the personality, the Dehi, the spirit soul within that body who is evolving from one body to another body. Just like in the school, it is the student who evolves from one grade to another grade, higher grade, like that it is. So that is the flaw, Prabhupada says. Darwin's theory, there is no acceptance of the spirit soul, and therefore his explanation is highly incomplete. Back to the topic, the Lord is Nimitta Matra. Nimitta Matra means the remote cause. So remote cause means what happens is one may see, the primary cause, secondary cause, but ultimately, the Sarva Karana Karanam, the ultimately cause of all causes, the original cause is the Supreme Lord. Later in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes one very beautiful statement. Prabhupada says, when one is unable to ascertain the real cause, Prabhupada writes this in the first canto, Bhishma's prayers. When one is unable to ascertain the cause of the action, one should safely understand it is the action of the Supreme Lord and move on with his life. Right. Text 18. Sakhalvidam Bhagavan Kala Shaktya Guna Pravahen Vibhakta Viryah Karotya Kartaiva Nihantya Hantya Cheshta Vibhumna Khalu Durvibhavya.
Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable supreme energy, time, causes the interaction of the three modes of material nature, and thus varieties of energy become manifest. It appears that he is acting, but he is not the actor. He is killing, but he is not the killer. Thus, it is understood that only by his inconceivable power is everything happening. Purport: the word Durvibhavya means inconceivable by our tiny brain, and Vibhakta Virya means divided in varieties of potencies. This is the right explanation of the display of creative energies in the material world. We can better understand the mercy of God by an example. A government state is always supposed to be merciful, but sometimes, in order to keep law and order, the government employs its police force, and thus punishment is meted out to the rebellious citizens. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always merciful and full of transcendental qualities. But certain individual souls have forgotten their relationship with Krishna and have endeavored to lord it over material nature. As a result of their endeavor, they are involved in varieties of material interaction. It is incorrect to argue, however, that because energy issues from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the actor. In the previous verse, the word nimitta matram indicates that the Supreme Lord is completely aloof from the action and reaction of this material world. How is everything being done? The word inconceivable has been used. It is not within the power of one small brain to comprehend. Unless one accepts the inconceivable power and energy of the Lord, one cannot make any progress. The forces which act are certainly set up by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is always aloof from their action and reaction. The varieties of energy produced by the interaction of material nature produce the varieties of species of life and the resultant happiness and unhappiness. How the Lord acts is nicely explained in the Vishnu Purana. Fire is situated in one place, while the heat and light produced by the fire act in many different ways. Another example given is that the electric powerhouse is situated in one place, but by its energies, many different types of machinery move. The production is never identical with the original source of energy, but the original source of energy, being the prime factor, is simultaneously one with and different from the product. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, is the perfect way of understanding. In this material world, the Lord incarnates in three forms, as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, by which he takes charge of the three modes of material nature. By his incarnation of Brahma, he creates. As the incarnation of Vishnu, he maintains. And by his incarnation of Shiva, he also annihilates. But the original source of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, is always apart from these actions and reactions of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So further, Svāyambhuva Manu is explaining that the Lord, by his inconceivable energy, time, three modes, and varieties of energy, they become manifest. And thus, although he is acting, in a sense, because he's providing all the ingredients, he's providing the impetus, but he is not the actor. Ultimately, he is killing, but he is not the killer. Right? And this has to be understand. This you have to understand. What this means is, I mean, uh, he may just like consider a state. The state is providing the state is providing the guns, and state is also providing typically a state like America where there's a gun culture, and there is also the state is also in a way providing a culture where gun can be used, but still the state is not responsible for use of one's gun. Correct. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the words Durvibhavya and Vibhakta Virya. So Durvibhavya means inconceivable by our tiny brain. Another word, therefore therefore inconceivable. And another thing is Vibhakta Virya, which is divided in varieties of the potencies. So Prabhupada says the Supreme Lord is naturally always compassionate. It's like a mother. Mother is always compassionate. But at times, for the good of the child, mother may give a tight slap. Similarly, the government is always compassionate. But if somebody becomes excessively rebellious and they are just carrying stones and just throwing, putting arson everywhere, then the government may have to use the police force. Similarly, the individual living entities, most of the living entities are in the spiritual world, right? And they are always in line with their original constitutional position. But sometimes some of the living entity, what happens is they forget their position. Krishna bhuliya ji. And what they do? Bhogavancha kare. They want to exploit the material nature. Then nikatastha māyā tara jhapati adhare. And therefore they are under the tight grip of the material nature. And then they get involved in the varieties of material actions and interactions. And all this, again, the remote cause is the Supreme Lord. That is the Nimitta Matra. Why remote cause? Because for providing facilities to everything. See, the Lord is such an amazing personality. When just like the government. So the obedient citizens, regular citizens, the government will provide facility. But when the citizens, they go, out of control, like, some citizens are there in the name of student movement, this and that, they are shouting about dividing India, killing this, killing that, destroying India and all that, government will put them into jail. But within jail also, government will not neglect the citizens. There will be another facility which will be created. Right. So this is the position of the Supreme Lord. So either the living entity is in the spiritual world, facility is created by the Supreme Lord. Even in the material world, the facility is created by the Supreme Lord. And thus, because he is the creator of the facility, therefore he is the remote cause. Right. He is not the direct cause, he is the remote cause. He makes all the energies available. especially the material energy, Bhumi, Rapo, Anaro, Vayu, for the interaction with the living entity, and thus satisfying the living entity's flimsy desire to control the material nature. Right. Now, how the Lord acts, one may superficially understand, but the complete import of the action of the Supreme Lord is very difficult to understand. Why? Because Durvibhavya, our brains are too tiny and small to understand this creation. Right. And that's why we see that Copernicus model, it went on for 2000 years till Einstein, the Newton came up with Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics went on for 200 years till Einstein came and he put his own quantum physics. Now, quantum physics is also being challenged. So, of course, we are evolving in our knowledge, but the point is, Prabhupada used to say, your research means from one imperfection, you are going to the next imperfection. So, to understand the complete canvas, it is very difficult for living entity, and therefore, this is considered as Durvibhavya. Srila Prabhupada quotes Vishnu Puran and the example that Lord is situated at one place. Goloka eva nivasatti akhilatma bhuto. Just like the fire is there at one place, but through heat and light, fire spreads everywhere. Another example Prabhupada says, the modern times, one may see the powerhouse is there in the one place, but the energy, different types of energy that is moving across. And this can be very nicely summarized that by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Tattva, which is called as Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. So Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva is such a wonderful Tattva. It just combines the entire, the sum total of Siddhantic philosophy in this one line, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Bheda means the living entity and the Supreme Lord, they are different from the existential perspective and different from the quantitative perspective. And at the same time, there is Abheda. They are one and same because the living entities have come from the Supreme Lord. Both are Satchidananda, right? Both are eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And this is simultaneous and inconceivable Achintya. And this very beautifully covers all the Siddhantic understanding. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Finally, the somewhat immediate causes are the three personalities who are the Gunavatara, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. But they also come from Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And then Garbhodakshai Vishnu is not the cause. And then what to speak of the Supreme Lord Krishna, whose one Kala Amsha is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So this is how the things are Durvibhavya or inconceivable. Text 19. Tonant anantakaro karah kalanadir adikritavyayaha janam janena janayan marayan mrityunantakam. Translation.
My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time, He is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although He is the beginning of everything, nor is He ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death, but He is perpetually free of birth and death. Purport: the supreme authority and inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be minutely studied from this verse. He is always unlimited. That means that He has no creation or end. He is, however, death in the form of time is described in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I am death. I take away everything at the end of life. Eternal time is also without beginning, but it is the creator of all creatures. The example is given of touchstone, which creates many valuable stones and jewels, but does not decrease in power. Similarly, creation occurs many times. Everything is maintained, and after a time, everything is annihilated. But the original creator, the Supreme Lord, remains untouched and undiminished in power. The secondary creation is made by Brahma, but Brahma is created by the Supreme Godhead. Lord Shiva annihilates the whole creation, but at the end, He is also annihilated by Vishnu. Lord Vishnu remains. In the Vedic hymns, it is stated that in the beginning there is only Vishnu and that he alone remains at the end. An example can help us to understand the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord. In the recent history of warfare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead created a Hitler, and before that, a Napoleon Bonaparte, and they each killed many living entities in war. But in the end, Bonaparte and Hitler were also killed. People are still very much interested in writing and reading books about Hitler and Bonaparte and how they killed so many people in war. Year after year, many books are published for public reading regarding Hitler's killing thousands of Jews in confinement. But no one is researching who killed Hitler and who created such a gigantic killer of human beings. The devotees of the Lord are not much interested in the study of the flickering history of the world. They are interested only in Him who is the original creator, maintainer, and annihilator. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement.
Svāyambhuva Manu further explains, my dear Dhruva, it is the Supreme Personality who is ever existing. Everybody apart from him, there will be a beginning point and the end point. And he, in the form of time, is killer of everything. He has no beginning, and although he has no beginning, he is the beginning of everything, right? And he is actually free from birth and death. So what Svāyambhuva Manu is saying that, my dear Dhruva, only the Supreme Lord is free from birth and death, and not even the Gunavataras, right? So please accept the death of Uttama. And do not be excessively angry and lose your cool. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, the supreme authority and the inconceivable power of the Supreme Lord can be minutely studied from this verse. The Lord is Ananta, right? So Anantakaraha. So Ananta Antakaraha, Kalaha. So he's Ananta, he is infinite. Antakaraha, he is actually the destroyer of everything. And he is the eternal time without beginning. Right. So see what happens is we live in a space and time domain. Whenever we say, something, there's always so when did we start? When we say that living entity is created by the Lord, the immediate question is when the living entity is created. Why this question? Because we are very heavily controlled by space and time domain. And because we are very heavily controlled by space and time domain, what happens is we cannot think without time. We cannot think beyond time. Prabhupada writes here, he is the creator of all creators. And then somebody may say, oh, he creates something. Does his energy diminish? No question. So how it is possible? We have studied in our, the laws of energy, the second law of thermodynamics. Energy can be converted from one to another, and the total energy. But the Lord is the storehouse of the energy. Somebody may say, impossible, sir, we cannot believe. But then there is one such example, one like touchstone. What is a touchstone? Touchstone is that touchstone can create volumes of gold without diminishing in its own power. Similarly, the creation occurs many, many times, and there is no diminishing in the original power of the Supreme Lord. So the primary creation takes place through Lord, secondary creations take place to Brahmaji, and in the due course of time, the destruction takes place through Lord Shiva. And in the due course of time, both Brahma and Shiva, they are also destroyed, and what remains is only the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Somebody may say, how Lord Shiva is destroyed? Lord Shiva is destroyed in the sense, Lord Shiva, all the Rudra Tattva, they finally go back to the original Shiva, who is called as Sadashiva, and Sadashiva is Lord Vishnu himself, right? So Shiva Tattva is slightly tricky to understand, but Sadashiva is Lord Vishnu himself. In fact, Lord Shiva is also Lord Vishnu himself, only in the touch with the material nature. Kshiram yatha dadi vikara vishesha yoga. That's how Brahma Samhita explains about this. And Prabhupada says a devotee should be interested to read about such a personality. There are volumes of books, there are multiple cinemas on the people like Hitler or Napoleon Bonaparte. And these are the people who have killed, these are the people who have killed masses. Like, Hitler, he killed almost like, how many? 6 million Jews is the number. Somewhere between 60 lakh Jews to 1.2 crore Jews. This is the Holocaust. This is the number. In 5-6 years, he killed this many, right? And people are interested, writing so many books, but ultimately there is a personality who killed Hitler also, and who killed even the Napoleon Bonaparte. And they died such a miserable death. Hitler shot himself dead hiding like a rat in a cave. And Napoleon, in the last days, he was drinking he was drinking the urine of a horse and died the most miserable death. So Prabhupada says the devotees of the Lord, they are much interested in studying such a personality who killed even Napoleon and who even killed uh, Hitler. And this is the purpose of Krishna consciousness movement. He is the ultimate cause. Right. Text 20. न वै स्वपक्षोऽस्य विपक्ष एव वा परस्य मृत्योर्विशतः समप्रजा तं धावमानम् अनुधावति निशा यथा रञ्जसि न अनिलं भूतसङ्गाः. Translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his feature of eternal time, is present in the material world and is neutral towards everyone. No one is his ally, and no one is his enemy. His ally, and no one is his enemy. Within the jurisdiction of the time element, everyone enjoys or suffers the result of his own karma or fruitive activities. As when the wind blows, small particles of the dust fly in the air, so according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material life. Purport. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of all causes, he is not responsible for anyone's material sufferings or enjoyment. There is no such partiality on the part of Supreme Lord. The less intelligent accuse the Supreme Lord of being partial and claim that this is why one enjoys in this material world and another suffers. But this verse specifically says that there is no such partiality on the part of Supreme Lord. Living entities, however, are never independent. As soon as they declare their independence of the Supreme Controller, they are immediately put into the material world to try their luck freely as far as possible. When the material world is created for such misguided living entities, they create their own karma, fruitive activities, and take advantage of the time element. And thereby they create their own fortune or misfortune. Everyone is created, everyone is maintained, and everyone is ultimately killed. As far as these three things are concerned, the Lord is equal to everyone. It is according to one's karma that one suffers and enjoys. The living entity's higher or lower position, his suffering and enjoying, are due to his own karma. The exact word used in this connection is anisha, which means dependent on their own karma. The example is given that the government gives everyone the facilities of governmental action and management. But by one's own choice, one creates a situation which obliges him to exist under different types of consciousness. The example given in this verse is that when the wind blows, particles of dust float in the air. Gradually, lightning occurs, and then the torrents of rain flows, and thus the rainy season creates a situation of varieties in the forest. God is very kind. He gives everyone an equal chance, but by the resultant actions of one's own karma, one suffers or enjoys this material world.
Now, Svayambhuva Manu, he explains that the Supreme Lord, in his feature of eternal time, is neutral towards every living entity. Name dveshostina priya. Right? Nobody is his friend, nobody is his enemy. And within that, everybody enjoys or suffers according to results of his own karma. Just like when the wind blows, the small particles of the dust fly in the sky. So, according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoy the material life. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, although the Lord is the original cause, he is not responsible for anyone's material sufferings or even enjoyment. So it is not that, it is only a devotee who says that I am suffering because of my bad karma, and the enjoyment I am getting in my life is because of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Right? And this mindset conquers the Supreme Personality. This mindset, actually wins over the heart of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, Lord says, no, you just continue with your activity. And therefore, it is really less intelligent to think that sometimes people say, Bhagwan hai na, to Bhagwan hai to जीवन में इतना दुख क्यों है? Why there is so much partiality? Why people are suffering if God is there and God loves you? This is a very, typical flimsy argument of the atheists. This is that. Do you think God exists? They say God exists. Then why there is suffering in the material world? Then why? It is just like you say, do you think school exists? School exists. Do you think teachers are good? Teachers are good. Then why some students get bad marks and some students get good marks? That means, your school is... No, sir, school is not responsible. School is neutral. School wants everybody's good. Some students, when you are going to take responsibility, right? Some students will study well, they will get good grades in the same infrastructure. Some students will miserably fail. The same school, same teacher. A classic example is Sachin Tendulkar and the fellow cricketer. Both were going to Vinod Kambadi. Both were going to the same school, Sharda school. Both were teacher was same Ramakant Acharekar sir, and both learned everything the same. One became Bharat Ratna and one became the top of the cricket. Another, he's wherever he is, wherever he is. So the living entity has to take the responsibility, right? So it is not the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when the material world is created, for such misguided living entities, Prabhupada writes, the facility is given, but it is the responsibility of the living entity to make one's fortune or misfortune, right? The Lord is, therefore, the word Prabhupada says, the word used here is anishaha. Anishaha means dependent on one's own karma. The facility is given by the government, but how to utilize the facility? Facility is given by the school, but how to utilize the facility has to be, it's everybody's individual responsibility. Srila Prabhupada concludes this purport by citing the example. Example given in this verse is when the wind blows, particles of the dust float in the air, then there is a lightning, then there is a torrential rain, and thus the rainy season is created, creating a situation of variety in the forest, right? Similarly, the Lord is kind. He gives everybody equal chance. Sometimes somebody may feel, no, I am not getting equal chance. No, but originally you got equal chance. By misuse of that chance, now currently one may be in the cycle of karma and vikarma. But the good news is, Lord is very kind. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. The entire cycle of karma, action and reaction, can be completely destroyed by performing the devotional service, especially chanting the holy names. And therefore, Lord says, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Although I am not, I am not specifically inclined to anybody, but one who is my devotee, I am very partial towards them. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Yeah.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Just wanted to say that the bench example is very perfect, Prabhuji. Thank you for that.
Which one example?
Bench example, Prabhuji. The bench doesn't move from class to
Yeah,
class.
Prabhupada gives this example. It is who is evolving. Student is evolving or benches are evolving.
Yes,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Hare. Thank you. Jai
Prabhupada is
Prabhupada.
amazing. Thank you, Prabhupada.